Welcome to episode 3 of Forkin' Amazing. In this episode, we're going to be cooking my version of the Mexican epic, Carnitas. First up, we're going to prepare the pork. I'm going to use belly for this recipe as it has a great balance of meat and fat, which makes it perfect for low and slow cooking. Any rib bones that we have left in the belly we'll leave for the cook as they only add flavour. Liberally season each side of the pork belly with salt, making sure you sprinkle evenly. Once seasoned, set aside so we can move on to the confit. Cut the tip from 2 onion halves, leaving the tail in place so we keep the onion together. We're going to add the onions cut side down to a preheated pan until charred. Traditionally, a whole pig would be slow cooked in lard, but for a bit of a twist, I'm going to confit the pork belly in duck fat. Melt the duck fat in a heavy based pan, then add the charred onion, 2 bay leaves, 2 whole cloves, 6 black peppercorns and 3 cloves of garlic. Add a sprinkle of salt and a tablespoon of Mexican oregano. Cut 2 whole oranges into quarters and add to the pan. You can use orange juice here, but I prefer the flavour you get from the whole fruit. Personally, I like to squeeze the juice from one of the wedges into the confit. You'll probably need to shuffle things around to get everything into the pan and make sure nothing is sticking out above the surface. Take a circle of baking paper and lay it on top. Lid the pan and cook at 115 degrees Celsius or 240 degrees Fahrenheit for 5 hours. This slow cook time results in extremely tender and juicy pork. With some tongs, remove the pork from the pan and allow it to rest for around an hour. Next up, we're going to make our Salsa Verde. Roughly chop half an onion, halve 2 cloves of garlic, take 1 green chilli, remove the stem and roughly chop. If you like your salsa hot, leave the seeds inside, if not, remove them. Next add some pickled jalapenos and a teaspoon of the pickling brine. Add the whole lot to a hot pan and cook until the edges begin to char. Next add whole tomatillos and gently cook down to a pulp. Add sugar, salt and lime juice and sprinkle in some coriander. We're going to gently blend the salsa in pulses so that we retain some of that texture. Next we're going to make our tortillas. Add 2 cups of Mexican corn flour to a bowl, add a teaspoon of salt to a well in the centre of the flour and add 1.25 cups of tap water. Mix the ingredients until they bind together and come away from the side of the bowl. Turn out the dough and knead until the mixture no longer sticks to your hands. We're going to portion the dough by first cutting into half, then into quarter, then 1/8 and finally 1/16. Shape each portion into a ball between your hands. Then place into a tortilla press sandwiched between 2 layers of baking paper. If you don't have a press, just use a rolling pin to get the same effect. We're looking for around 5 inches in diameter and about 1/8 of an inch in thickness. Add the tortillas to a preheated pan and cook until you start to see the edges rise. As you can see here, this one is ready to flip. Once cooked, keep your tortillas wrapped in a cloth to stop them from drying out. Now we're ready to return to our pork. Once rested, you can see just how juicy this pork really is. Now we're going to cut down the pork into chunks roughly 2 inches by 1 inch. We're going to colour and crisp up the pork in the duck fat, but first we're going to need to pass out the oranges and the onion. Using a ladle, squeeze out all of the juices. Heat up the orange and duck fat mix until bubbling. Now add your chunks of pork and cook until golden and crispy. This can take a while, so be patient and be careful that you don't burn anything to the bottom of the pan. It's at this stage that the flavour really becomes exciting. Once the pork is fully browned, we're going to squeeze over a little of the orange juice and chop down into bite-sized chunks. You can pull the pork at this stage, but I find that chopping it gives best results for this recipe. Sprinkle over some sea salt and some freshly ground black pepper. Finally, we're ready to assemble our taco. Add a heap of chopped pork to a tortilla, spoon on some salsa verde, add some chopped onion, chopped coriander and a squeeze of fresh lime juice. Drizzle over your favourite hot sauce and you're ready to eat. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video. For the full recipe, see the description below or head over to the website. Please hit that subscribe button and see you next time.